Hello and welcome. I'm Helen Atkinson, Managing Editor at Supply Chain Brain. I'm excited to be moderating this webinar today, sponsored by SS&C Blue Prism and WonderBotz, the title for which is Modernizing Manufacturing, Supply Chain 2.0 with Bhavesh Joshi. Modern supply chain service level agreements, or SLAs, require a modern approach to automation. Customers no longer have the patience for delivery delays, and finance departments are getting less tolerant of supply chain slowdowns, contributing to costly SLAs. The answer is to optimize your supply chain operations with artificial intelligence. WonderBotz expert Bhavesh Joshi is today going to explain how supply chain optimization that implements AI-powered automation can help achieve peak performance in your organization. We're going to be talking about things like what good looks like in an automated manufacturing organization and which operational areas are likely to present good potential for automation. We're also going to hear about some real-world examples of how automation can move the needle in performance gains. First, we're going to have a fireside chat with Bhavesh from WonderBotz. After that, we'll open it up for a Q&A session with questions from you, the audience. Please submit questions at any time using the tab at the bottom of your screen. We'll not be using people's titles or company names, so go ahead and ask anything you like. If you don't see your question come up during the webinar, please be assured SS&C Blue Prism and WonderBotz will reach out to you offline. And just a note about the structure here, SS&C Blue Prism offers an intelligent automation platform and works in partnership with WonderBotz. Let's get to our speaker. Bhavesh Joshi is practice leader at WonderBotz, an intelligent automation services provider. Prior to joining WonderBotz, Bhavesh led several transformation initiatives in the manufacturing, energy, life sciences, and utilities industries. He created a methodology to integrate operational excellence with intelligent automation. Welcome, Bhavesh. Now, hi, let's get into this fireside chat.
All right. So thank you for having me, Helen, and happy Tuesday to most of my friends, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are. Today's title of the webinar is interesting. We are talking about supply chain 2.0. Although everybody would say, hey, industry is moving at industry 4.0 or 5.0 even. I would say that because I've been in the world of supply chain, the supply chain has had a lot of new development, but it's kind of lagged behind the innovations that a lot of the IoT and other industry 4.0 has had in the past. So looking forward to sharing what I think about we need to move on the supply chain 2.0 and even beyond.
Right, so we're going to help bring it up to speed as an industry today, I hope, just a little bit at least. That's fantastic, Bhavesh. So, Bhavesh, tell me, so looking ahead, I mean, how we get to 4.0 in supply chain, what does the future hold for supply chain optimization, considering the growing customer demands, the need for sustainability, the complex international supply chain ecosystem? How can intelligent automation help manufacturers stay agile and really get to the next level?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things when we think about supply chain, and I want to talk about, some people use word supply chain as just, materials management. Some people use that overall end-to-end value stream. And I'm looking at supply chain as that overall value stream that essentially makes the profit happen and makes sure that the customers are happy. So when we think about how the supply chains are evolving, they are obviously going through a lot of agility challenges and a lot of challenges with respect to the prediction. Now, those have been around as a topic and areas of interest for many years. But when we think about combining the Industry 4.0 real-time visibility that actually can be created from Industry 4.0, then needs to be actually acted upon. And that acting upon is where the intelligent automation actually helps to make sure that you are doing the right decisions and the right actions. and combine that with one, issue that world is struggling with, especially in US, is the worker shortages. So when the people are actually already few and then they are not really that thrilled about doing the things that don't add any value, so repetitive tasks like those, intelligent automation can help with that as well. And last but not least, risk management and compliance management. We saw how much of an issue those were. So automating a lot of processes with respect to the compliance management and checking is something that I've seen intelligent automation help. And then the sustainability performance. Actually, 54% of the customers, 54% buyers are saying that they would not actually buy from suppliers if they do not have a proper sustainability program. And that's, again, part of the calculating of sustainability performance and making sure that you are able to use the intelligent automation to streamline those processes and to make sure you have the right visibility and right actions going from them.
Right. Thank you, Bhavesh, and thank you for bringing up the compliance piece, which I skated over, because I think it's interesting how it now dovetails, among other things, with the sustainability issue that there's now, particularly in Europe, all these regulations where you are actually obliged to report your sustainability metrics. And so I can see that intelligent automation really helps with that. I think we've established that it's a good idea. What are the key considerations for companies when they're approaching intelligent automation in supply chain management for the first time, or they're scaling an existing automation program? What are the key considerations?
So let's talk about, as you mentioned in my intro, I've been a student and a practitioner of operational excellence and continuous improvement. So I look at intelligent automation as actually what puts those areas on steroids. So years ago, whenever we were actually going through those type of transformations, we would have to, work around systems and other constraints that were there. Intelligent automation essentially helps us to fast pace all of those situations and without a lot of technology debt or investment that you may have to do. So that's why I would say that combining with your existing goals and the transformations that you are driving is the right approach to actually take for intelligent automation. And for the people who are actually already on that journey, how do you actually make sure that you are continuously evolving your program to now infuse AI, to also assure that you are scaling it to enterprise-wide scenarios? Because a lot of programs, unfortunately, may have started in the back office type of areas, but in my own assessment and in my own experience that I've helped customers and other companies, a lot more of the value is actually derived and created in the core operations areas of supply chain and manufacturing and even design, as well as the logistics management.
Right. So it's really important to not just be looking at operational silos, but have a bit more of a holistic approach. It sounds like.
Absolutely.
Right. So with that in mind, what are the top techniques for supply chain optimization, particularly in terms of cost, inventory, and network management? Those are all very gnarly, complex areas.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about the techniques, I mean, some of them are obviously aided with the intelligent automation, but they are still the foundational elements. So, as they start with knowing who your customers are. So helping to understand, even intelligent automation can help you there, that, hey, what are some of the customers actually searching for? What are their behaviors with respect to the buying patterns? How are they actually coming to you with questions and things like that? So getting that insight using intelligent automation is very helpful. And then doing a lot of analysis, and you can use AI here as well to rationalize your SKUs that you are actually selling to your customers. And you can do the same on the supplier side, that, hey, intelligent automation can be always on and doing the performance analysis of your supplier's performance, of their compliance, of their cost, and all of those. to be able to make sure that you do proper segmentation and proper choice making of the suppliers. And then you continue that with respect to many times I've had to, figure out how do you do spend analytics that's comprehensive so that you are able to make sure that you are really taking advantage of your volume discounts as well as, trying to buy from the right suppliers that you need to. So intelligent automation, again, can help here as well in making those decisions, and not only making those decisions, but automatically executing those decisions. So those are some of the areas. There are some core areas of good supply chain, but can now be very much actually aided with intelligent automation.
That's really interesting. I wanted to dig into that a little bit because I think people approaching this are sort of intimidated by the idea that it's going to bring a sort of an extra layer of complexity into operational management. And it sounds to me like what you're saying. So, for example, in the case of SKUs, that you can use this much more actionable data to go, these SKUs are the ones that we really want to focus on. Maybe we should reduce the number of SKUs, or maybe we should reduce the number of suppliers, or diversify the supplier base. But in some ways, it sounds like one of the key benefits is that there's an ability to streamline and simplify things. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's all about the simplifying and making sure that you do it at speed. Actually, that's where
right.
In the old world, Lean used to say you can do better, cheaper, or faster, right? And
Pick
how
two,
can you
right?
do all of those? How can you do all of those together? And
Yeah.
that's where I have loved the intelligent automation technology, because it's right fit for purpose that allows you to do better, cheaper, and faster and safer at the same time.
Right. So you don't have to pick only two of those things. You can do better, cheaper, and faster. Okay, that's great. So let's dig into the how a little bit. What steps are involved in implementing supply chain optimization, and how can a centralized platform, along with intelligent automation tools, facilitate that process?
Yeah, so I think this is a funny one, because what happens is, if you ask anybody that lives in the world of supply chain, they actually just are always buried deep into emails and spreadsheets. Uh, and uh, and I've always been a pragmatic to know that at the end of the day, things have to go into your system of record, which is ERP. Otherwise, finance and shareholders and compliance wouldn't be happy anyway. So how about we actually use the intelligent automation to make sure that, okay, if you are having procure to pay systems, that you are actually able to do, integration using the intelligent automation of data back and forth. Or if you have supplier collaboration network that you are using, but you still have to take some actions that are in your core ERP. So for example, if you say, from the supplier collaboration network, that this is the supplier I'm going to do this spot purchase with. Now, when you actually get that, you have to take that offer and create a purchase requisition in your P2P system or your ERP systems. And let's say if you created PR in your P2P system, then eventually the PO has to be reconciled into your ERP as well. So these are the types of right solutions, but point solutions that you can use intelligent automation to then automatically reuse the data that you had one time, and continue to actually make sure that the right systems are updated and the right actions are taken place automatically, without things getting lost in the translation or fall apart.
Right, that's fascinating. So it reduces obviously the risk of human error, and makes things simpler when you've got systems automatically populating each other with purchase orders and so on. That's great. Let's talk about how automation can optimize supply chain operations in manufacturing organizations specifically. I know that's one of your fields of expertise, Bhavesh.
Yeah, so manufacturing is amazing. There are so many talented people that actually do so much hard work, and I'm always amazed to with their dedication. So when I start with manufacturing, of course, we talked about customers understanding and all that, but when I started my career, I was a design engineer myself. So when you think about even where that process starts, so design engineering systems are separate. And then again, going back to, you may have your material resource planning, you may have supply relationship management systems, and you may have ERPs. And then if you are making the version changes or anything like that, or if you are even doing the piloting, making sure that all of the data is kept up to date from one system to other system. And then you can, and I've done that, automatically email the suppliers that, hey, this is the new change of the bill of material, and this is how the master data now looks like. So keeping it all homogeneous, how much time, if you imagine, engineers would have to spend keeping everybody informed and updating all these different systems. So helping that process alone with intelligent automations, I've helped some customers save more than 500,000 of engineering resources hours, which is just so amazing. And they are happy as well, by the way, when they don't have to do those things. So that's the first area of engineering and design side of things that I would say is the right opportunity. Again, a lot of people haven't started that, but that's, I recommend the first area to start the process of intelligent automation. And then you have a lot more effort in the end-to-end procurement processes. So I call manufacturing is like our body, and then the supply chain and procurement are like the blood that actually gives the body functioning. And then the heart is, of course, the planning of and if you didn't do those planning and heart didn't pump the blood, then, nothing on the body will work. So that's the same way in manufacturing. And that's the reason why I say that if you think about procurement, because it is also looking at what are you doing internally, what are you actually purchasing from outside. And intelligent automation can help you with even the RFP process that you are doing automatically, sending out the request for a quote and proposal, as well as then automatically updating the customers, the suppliers' information into your system. You can use intelligent automation. I've actually implemented some of them where you can make the calculations and decisions yourself without even human. And you can recommend, intelligent automation can recommend to human that this is the decision I'm making. And if you say yes, then it can automatically actually onboard a supplier. So these are the two areas. I'll pause here. And I have some more areas in manufacturing, but see if you had any questions on either the engineering side or the procurement side.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I love the idea that procurement is the lifeblood that keeps the supply chain going. That's fantastic. And I wanted to call back to something that you talked about onboarding a supplier. And it sounds like obviously there's an element of human intervention there, where, as you said, you have to say yes.
Yes.
But then having done that, the intelligent automation can go ahead and do all the sort of technical and admin things that make it work. I'd like to ask you, do you find people are sometimes nervous about the idea of sort of handing power, for want of a better word, over to an automated system that, they're going to come in one morning and everything will be not where it's supposed to, not where it's supposed to be?
So the beauty of intelligent automation again is unlike if you are building the whole brand new system, it takes long time, and you are reusing a lot of the systems and elements that are there, but stitching them together to make them more intelligent and seamless, essentially. So it allows you as a human to make a decision which processes and which decisions you want to be completely automated, which decisions and thresholds you want some human to, and we call it human in the loop, human to actually validate. Even once the human validates, the automation can still continue and automatically do everything that you are actually thinking about or you intended. Otherwise you can say, hey, like for example, if it is a PO that's more than $1 million, no matter if the intelligent automation has decided this is the supplier, this is when we should be placing it, ping me the reminder that, hey, I need to approve it. So that again, this automation can help you to be on top of your own workload as well, so that things are not going to actually fall through the cracks. So it's your decision and it's your design how it will actually work and function.
Right. So it's very important that people know that they're still in control and that they choose exactly which processes to automate and
Yeah.
to keep an eye on. And it sounds like a lot of processes, there's almost a kind of hybrid approach. Like, as you
Yeah.
said, if the
Like,
PO is for more than $1 million, then it needs a human to sign off on it.
correct. Like one of the example we have is in a contract review, for example, when you finalize that, hey, this is a supplier, and then you have your standard terms and the suppliers may have their standard terms, you can use the intelligent automation to actually compare and contrast and then give you the summary that these are the things that you need to check. And so this is again helping you to be more productive. And at the same time, it's not about productive, it's also about not missing out on anything that is important, actually. That's a very important thing. How I actually like the intelligent automations suggestions as well as reminders, and actually, where you decide these are the SLAs, you can assure that those SLAs are actually being met.
Right. And as you said, it helps make sure that nothing falls through the cracks.
Correct.
So speaking of falling through the cracks, risk and compliance are two things which are where things slipping through the cracks can really have some huge consequences. So how does intelligent automation help with those two things?
Yeah, so comply. So every manufacturing plant as well as every site or every P&L has certain controls that they have to actually abide by, and a lot of those controls are, let's say, making sure that, hey, this is the supplier that we actually chose to place an order with. Then let's go back and make sure that intelligent automation can do this and say that, did we actually sign this contract with this supplier and this is the price or not? And did we place the PO at the right price? And then did they actually send the invoice at that right price or not? And I know there is a three-way match, but at the P2P side, but now this is actually going even at the control side of things and making sure that all of those data using the intelligent document processing of the intelligent automation and these rule-based decisions can assure that you are doing that type of control validation. Now, if you validate that control, intelligent automation bots can actually consolidate all of that evidence and then keep it as part of your control record keeping. So that's just one example. You can do the same things with respect to let's say OSHA related filings and things like that. If your area is actually required to file certain things on OSHA, you can make sure that the bot is going to the right knowledge systems or your systems of records and consolidating all of that, and then almost actually populate everything on the OSHA website. And then you can, as a human, say that, hey, I approve, and then press the button. And sometimes you don't even have to go to those websites. The beauty of intelligent automation is it can give you all of this on your web-based, very pretty good graphical user interface that you like to work, and then things can work in the background. That's the beauty of the intelligent automation. There was one thing that I had done was like conflict mineral check, that, hey, is your supplier making sure that you are doing the conflict mineral or not, a compliance about that. And you have to send emails to suppliers. So bots can do things like that. It can actually go into your systems and know that when was the last time you had actually done this validation with the supplier. And then it can automatically send an email. And then when a supplier sends an email reply back, the bot can actually parse that, intelligent document processing again, and then upload it into your system of records. So you can think about this whole process. If you're doing thousands of suppliers, now you automated it completely. And bot can also flag to you that, hey, this supplier didn't reply. So it can automatically send a reminder, or it can actually tell you after a couple of reminders that you need to do something about this.
Right. So it's good at putting up red flags.
Yeah.
And also just generating a paper trail as well,
Yeah.
although it's not paper,
Yeah.
we hope. But that's great. So you can dig into what these compliance and risk management issues, how they're going. That's fantastic. Bhavesh, what are some innovative strategies you've seen implemented to optimize supply chain operations in your career? Give us some war stories.
Yeah, so I think first and foremost is actually the network optimization. I think that is, and so we had actually one of the transformation initiative we were working on. We created, locally great, but globally, like, it sucked, things like that. So how do you actually make sure that you are trying to drive the local optimization? And we realized that it was a word. We thought we created that word, but it was there. So somebody had coined that word local. But so that network optimization is actually one of the key things with respect to the supply chain. And this is again where intelligent automation can help you, that you are making sure that the decisions and actions are actually true optimization and not just the sub optimization for your own little silo. And that's the beauty of how you can do network optimization. And then the second thing is the total cost of ownership. So what I've noticed, a lot of decisions, all good intention decisions, but sometimes we are making decisions similar to that network optimization based on the local parameter, but we may not consider the total cost of ownership of quality issues or transportation issues, or missing out on revenues and things like that. So how do you make sure that you are actually looking at the total cost of ownership is something that I think is very important. And then if you see the tire marks on most supply chain people's backs, they have all to do with actually very simple thing called order management. And what I mean by order management is you have customers' orders, and the customer service teams are actually making sure that it's the right order and we can deliver it and all that. So again, intelligent automation can help automating that, because even if you use EDIs or some things like that, there are some customers will still email you, still will actually send you PDFs or Excels. So intelligent automation and IDP can actually help you to make sure that you capture the data, validate the data, and then make sure that it's in the right system, so that you don't have to do it anything. You can actually worry about, hey, what date and what where I'm gonna get this purchase from, or manufacturer, is what you are worried about. And then if you continue on that order pattern, right, the customer order may then result into a purchase order. So how do you continue to manage your purchase order and make sure that you placed it on the right supplier, you got the right date? So this was actually one of my first intelligent automation, where we actually said we automated that process of first on the customer order intake, then on the purchase order and the manufacturing order alignment, to make sure that you are updating the supplier's information, their commitment and delivery performance. You can even integrate the port performance, which was one of the things we had done, that, okay, we now know from our bots that it's shipped on the right time, but how is it going to be on the port scenario? Will we be able to get it on time? So combining that from freight forwarder, and then eventually getting all of that data into your performance, that when are you going to be able to produce? Then combining that with the manufacturing order, that is actually, unfortunately or fortunately, what a lot of my supply chain friends end up doing day in and day out. So automating so many of those processes is actually a lifesaver to most of them.
Oh, that's fascinating. So it's really about, often it's about just stitching all these operational tasks together in a way that it doesn't take up all of your time.
Yeah.
That you can think about more strategic things. Bhavesh, could you give me an example? I was really fascinated when you were talking about the sort of being too localized or too siloed in your view about automation, and that you could do something in, say, one operational area or one physical location that makes fantastic sense for the people in that little world, but that actually does not have beneficial effects, or might even have negative effects for the overall organization or supply chain. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And maybe do you have an example?
Yeah, so for example, one of the times I used to manage a fleet of about $3.5 billion of rental asset fleet, and the inventory that went along with it. So we used to make fun of each other. We would say we would have this for just in time, for just in case. So we basically what we had to do at that time was essentially, again, automate a lot of the data and inventory. So having the visibility. So that's where the intelligent automation can help. So you may create a visibility to understand what inventory is at what location and when they may be, and what is their behavior pattern and their consumption pattern. But at the same time, you can then say that, hey, but this is higher margin and higher revenue and more important customer order that I need to fulfill. So if you are actually looking at just local scenarios, then they're like, I've got this inventory, I need to keep it for just in case. But on the other hand, you may be actually missing out on these opportunities. So how you actually make sure that you use the data visibility, but analysis and then automated actions from it, so that the right global decisions are actually executed on. And you can same again require that somebody as a VP of supply chain or somebody makes the decision of taking inventory from here to here, but it's the right decision for the global good of the company and the customers.
Right, super. Thank you. So Bhavesh, how do you see supply chain planning benefiting from intelligent automation?
So as I say, planning is almost like the heart of the whole body. So the way I think about the planning is that there are just a lot of fantastic tools out there that have great forecasting algorithms and modules. One thing, and I've deployed some of them, so it has continued to move from demand planning to sales and operations planning, and then now integrated business planning, where you are actually making sure that finance, marketing, new product introduction, and everything is together. So because you have a lot of these stakeholders, okay, your algorithm, which can be actually even in an intelligent automation, a lot of machine learning models can be actually as part of the decisions be deployed in the intelligent automation workflow. But even more mundane than that is actually the collection of data from all of these stakeholders. So one time I was leading that, we had 1,200 sites. So we had to get 1,200 sites emails and Excel spreadsheets that eventually had to go into this sales and operations planning tool. So think about it, you're spending a lot of time rather than focused on what the algorithm of machine learning algorithms data is telling you, what scenarios you are planning out and playing out. You're just spending a lot of time in these manual activities. So that's where intelligent automation can automate all of that. But then you can have ML model that can be part of that workflow, that can give you the scenarios and make the whole process
right. Yeah. So playing out those what if scenarios, I think, is extremely important.
And eventually it can even do financial reconciliation, that, hey, this is what you actually had as an output from ML model. What did we actually do from the budget perspective? And did we actually do all of these things? And how does it look in our actually overall planning of the financial systems and resources?
Right. And it can work it out down to a cost per SKU level. So helping make decisions. That's great. So another issue that I know has been very current this year, we've been all over the place with inventory management. And I'm wondering how intelligent automation helps. You've talked a little bit about that, but reducing inventory and improving distribution, that's another area that I think I'd like to touch on with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw like we were in a scenario where we didn't have enough, and then you had scenarios where some of the retailers were actually doing fire sales because they had too much inventory, right? And this is the part of the topic we talked about, was actually the global optimization and network optimization, which is one key thing. But then the other key thing is being able to actually know, as I said, like understanding the situation about what inventories were, doing the ML model integration with your intelligent automation to know that, hey, these are the customers' behaviors pattern, and being able to then respond to those customers' buying patterns is very important. But then just last but not least is just a simple automation action that, hey, this is the inventory that I'm seeing, this is what is actually being ordered, and how am I actually making sure that I'm making the right actions. Again, ML models can make those decisions for you, and you can actually decide that, hey, this is the purchasing I should do, or this is actually where I should purchase from, this is where I should hold it, this is where I should actually keep it in my distribution center or not. So those are a lot of things that are actually done in inventory management. But when we think about distribution, So in the distribution side of things, when we think about, okay, if you are doing, like, say, Kanban, you can do it in inventory side or you can do it on the finished goods sides as well. So you can actually make sure that the right order placement and all of those are done automatically. And then, believe it or not, a lot of people spend so much time in generating the shipping documentation with C of Cs and other documentation. So
Mm-hmm.
automating that and combining all of those data points and documents from different systems and making sure that it actually goes. And then you can also compare. This is a controlled air environment as well, that this is what your systems shipped. And then you can see the transportation people received the same thing or not, and actually compare that for control as well as automate a lot of those processes. And then one thing on the distribution side is on the claim side of things.
Mm.
So how many customers actually may be saying that, hey, I didn't receive this or I received this. Being able to validate the claim and automatically do that from your systems of record using intelligent automation is one thing. But then you can actually use the bots to be able to go into the different systems that we just talked about to see that what is going on, so that now some experts are actually making a decision that what may have happened, rather than spending their time into this, because these are the same people who are doing the materials movement and warehousing and shipping that will have to do some of this research. So you can automate a lot of these type of things as well.
Wow. So it really helps identify exactly what went wrong when something does. That's
Correct.
great. And I also think what's so interesting to me about this is that inventory management and distribution are very much go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And that using intelligent automation to identify where you need inventory to serve that local market or whatever is the first step to improving distribution, because you can't distribute it if you don't have it there. Wonderful. I think there's been a lot of talk about generative AI. That's been the sort of rock star of this year, certainly in terms of technology. Can you give me an example of how generative AI is helping the supply chain space?
Yeah, so the first and foremost thing is the generative AI that we have actually helped our customers with is we are making sure that we are using the right knowledge-based systems. And if it is going to be any external knowledge base that will be used in the generative AI, then we know where it is and how it is actually. So we are making sure that we are not actually, just having very artistic and creative areas, but we are using the right information. So when we think about even, we talked about customer side of things. So creating generating the content from looking at what like different e-commerce websites are doing and what some of the macro trends are doing, and creating the customer behaviors analysis and market analysis is a very simple thing of what generative AI can actually do for you. The other one is actually your supplier performance prediction. So generative AI will say, hey, we know we have this order in our system, but based on this supplier's performance and based on everything else I know of the the transportation systems and all that, this is what we predict when you will actually see something from this supplier. Or if you think about, we talked about claims, you can have a chat bot using that uses a generative AI with a customer that actually says, hey, I'm looking for my order, or I have this issue with my order, or I have this claim with my order. The generative AI chatbots actually are helping those type of scenarios. And then giving a predictive insight on even your spend and the pricing power that you may have. That, hey, this is what you have purchased, these are the type of suppliers. Based on all that knowledge that I have, this is what I believe your pricing power should be in negotiating with your supplier. So there are just multiple areas that you can use generative AI. We talked about design, right? Generative AI can, and that's one thing we're just starting to help with the customers, is, hey, based on this material constraint I have, I'm going to manufacture near shore, onshore, or offshore. And these are how the customers' behaviors are. This is the competition doing. What should my design be like? So that is another rapidly growing area, because you can assign all the constraints, and then you can also say what you want to achieve, and then provide even design recommendations.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Bhavesh, thank you. I think it's time for us to move on to
Okay.
audience Q&A now. Give you,
Okay.
but it's not going to give you a break.
Okay. Um,
There's so much information coming here. Thank you so much. So, if I could just remind you to please enter your questions in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen, and you can submit them at any time, but hopefully now would be best. We will not be using people's names or titles or company names, so go ahead and ask anything you like. And if you don't see your question come up during the webinar, please be assured SS&C, Blue Prism, and WonderBotz will reach out to you offline. Bhavesh, so one question here that I think is really interesting is, what are the specific KPIs related to supply chain performance that you can see positively impacted by intelligent automation? What should C-suite executives be keeping an eye on to really check that intelligent automation is doing what it promises?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So when we think about the C-suite and they think about supply chain, they are obviously making sure that the customers' orders are actually delivered on time and at the right cost. So everything that we talked about with respect to the productivity improvement, the speed improvement, the visibility and automated action driven decisions, those are directly contributing to the better performance with respect to your inventory as well as your on-time delivery performance. And those are more still leading indicator. When you think about it from the C-suite perspective, they are looking at essentially what is my return on the capital that I have employed on inventory, as well as on people, as well as on the machines and everything. So being able to do that is very important, and you are improving your cash conversion cycle through your supply chain by improving your inventory turns, by also reducing your cost of goods sold, and improving your productivity. And more importantly, if you do pure cash conversion cycle, there is also suppliers payment of the day's payment outstanding, to make sure that you are paying at the right time to get the right discount, but not too soon so that you are actually missing out on the cash.
Right.
So those are some of the things that I've seen C-suite care about and be very easily addressed and enabled by the intelligent automation.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's great. Now I've got a really interesting question here, and it harks back to something we were talking about earlier. If human intervention is needed at every cycle of a certain process, doesn't it make the system semi-automatic rather than fully automatic? Or are we actually aiming for semi-automatic systems with the help of AI? I think that's a really interesting question.
That is a very interesting question. So I think I don't want to say it depends, but the way it actually goes is that we get to decide. So AI can make, and I have several processes that I've designed that have complete automation from end to end based on the rules that we decided. But what the intelligent automation can tell you is that, hey, in this one, I am predicting that I am 95% certain, or in this one, I am about 80% certain. So in that case, you can still decide that, hey, even at 80% certainty, I want the process to be completely automated, and that's purely your decision. So that's where I say that it's semi-automatic. Or you can, like the example we gave, that, hey, if it is a more than $1 million PO, even though intelligent automation decided this is the supplier, this is when we place it, all of that based on all the other design that we had in the process, you made a choice that, hey, this should be not fully automated. I want one pair of eyes to actually, with the right delegation of authority, to actually approve it. And so that's really how I see it. And then it depends on some of the critical things. For example, we've had safety scenarios where we were actually using the GPUs of NVIDIA and looking at the unsafe or safe behavior. Now, you want to shut down that machine if you detect the unsafe behavior. But if you are actually sending everybody home from that cell, or from that cell, you want somebody from human to actually make that decision. So that's why you can decide and design how you want which decisions to be fully automated or which to be reviewed by the human. And then AI learns. When you actually make this decision one time, it will learn that, hey, this is what human decided for me, so I should propose this next time.
Right, right. And then also being able to run scenarios automatically can help you with those decisions too. I think that's part of it. I was wondering if maybe the analogy is, I get a machine to wash my clothes, but in terms of choosing what I'm going to wear, then that requires my human intervention. But the washing machine saves me a hell of a lot of times.
Yeah.
That's a very domestic example. um, so tell me, what are the obstacles, what are the barriers to adoption, and what are some of the risks that companies may encounter when they're implementing supply chain optimization through automation, and how can those be mitigated?
Yeah, so I think the risks are some of the same thing. Is about actually making sure that we are not so you need to have focus. So there are two different things. So
Mm,
focus is very important, that this is the area that we want to target, and this is where we are going to actually have the success, that we will actually prove that this works and why this works. At the same time, you want to make sure that it is not too local and too narrow, that, hey, you are only helping yourself, but you don't actually do something that will help the greater good of the company or the customers. So being focused, but not be too myopic in your approach and what you're trying to achieve is important. And then the second thing is to not be hung up on the lot of systems. So because what happens in today's days is that there are just so many systems that, hey, this is a silver bullet. I'll tell you, there is no such thing as silver bullet. A lot of people say it's always a combination of so many factors, right? So that's why choosing the pragmatic thing. That's why I like the intelligent automation, because you're not just going out and doing some big bang thing, but you are making sure that you are using your existing people, systems, technologies, and processes in some ways, but actually optimizing it for you. So that's really how I would do that. And then keep your customers and finance people close. Don't make these transformation initiatives either of performance excellence teams or continuous improvement teams or IT team. If sometimes intelligent automation is part of IT, make sure that you have your suppliers part of it if you are changing processes with them, and make sure your finance people are also part of it. Hey, this is what you are changing, so you can have objective evidence of what you've done.
Great, that's wonderful. So, but let's talk a little bit about the fear factor, because I'm getting quite a few questions about that. I think people are, as I say, a little bit intimidated, and it sounds to me like the intelligent part of the automation is to be doing it in manageable stages. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, so the way I think about intelligent, I mean, so for example, being able to deploy these machine learning models within your intelligent workflow is part of the what made it intelligent, for example, or having some inbuilt machine learning models. So it's doing that, and it allows the what started as RPA now allows you to, like we talked about this chatbot discussion, right?
Mm, mm.
Whether it is natural language. So those are the building blocks that made the automation intelligent automation. As far as I think we are confusing the word of intelligent automation with autonomous action. So
Yes.
autonomous action is it can, but it's the choice and decisions that we actually make, and how we make it. And sometimes we will not make those choices, and we shouldn't. And even if we made those choices, and that's where this digital twin type of scenarios and approach comes into the play, that, hey, we can let all of this to be autonomously decided and executed, but let's do it in like, where you don't break anything. And
Right.
that's again part of that human in the loop, that somebody actually looks at it before it's fully like done. So those are the ways to kind of work around this. How do you make the automation into autonomous action? And that's where we are going more and more towards. We'll never be there. We should never be there. And that's why intelligent automation platforms allow you that human in the loop and different scenarios and things like that.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you, Bhavesh. Um, I've got a great question here. Can all the applications be connected using artificial intelligence, starting from forecasting and planning right through distribution to the delivery to end customers?
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. So the intelligent automation platform essentially allows for the AI to be infused in all of those scenarios, and you have some built-in auto intelligence in that, and you can also deploy specific machine learning modules for specific scenarios for specific process areas.
Right, wonderful. Yeah, definitely. And then another question, we're getting quite a few about sort of quality of data. What if you get into an intelligent automation project and you find that your historical data is not great? And maybe you could talk about a case where that happened and what the solution was.
No, it has happened, and so that's where the generative AI now actually helps us. So when you think about so the machine learning models are looking at the data that is historical data, but that's where like we were giving an example of, hey, what are these customers' preferences changing in the outside world? What are the patterns that the generative AI is actually noticing? So that is like one of the ways you can try to make that the bridge between what the history is and what the future is. But it has been the case and it has happened. That's why I'm very optimistic about the generative AI now actually bridging the two to avoid most of those mistakes that used to happen in the past.
Right, right. And so it sounds like don't let perfect be the enemy of
Correct.
good.
Yeah.
Because using particularly generative AI and machine learning, you'll be able to improve your data quality, even if it's been poor before.
Yeah, and that's why even using very simple use case of intelligent automation is even data cleansing. Every AI is only as good as the data, right? That's why generative AI struggles sometimes. That's why machine learning models may have wrong, prediction essentially. So being able to just cleanse the data and update the data so that it's accurate and the most up-to-date data is a very simple, very important intelligent automation task actually that it can automate.
Right. Thank you. Bhavesh, here's another question. What skills would be most important for a person or a team who are going to be implementing an intelligent supply chain automation system? Do they need to be engineers? Do they need to be software experts? What's your opinion?
So I think there are a lot of, even today we talked about a lot of open source LLMs actually came about, and so there are a lot of experts that actually are good at data sciences, that are actually good at like supplier negotiations. So I think if I were to say one skill, the skill where you have enough understanding of how those functions and how those technologies work is going to be the most important skill. Because being able to, even having technology is one thing, and then being able to use it to deliver something good for you is second thing. So being aware and knowing insightfully how and where to use, how and where to actually, and like the human in the loop type decisions that will come into the play. So having that insights and thoughtfulness is actually, in my opinion, the most important skill that will help your end-to-end value chain more and more intelligent and robust at the same time.
That's fantastic. Just moving along here, what factors should we be considering when selecting a supply chain optimization software or technology? What should we be looking for?
Yeah, so this is where I would say be pragmatic about what your current systems of records are, right? And if there are some of these silver bullet solutions and technologies that are out there, be very cautious about it. and make sure that you look at what you can do in what phases. And that's why I say intelligent automation is a no-brainer, because you can start with it without having to do some big bang, investment or changeover, and you can see how you are seeing the benefits from that, to make
Mm.
sure that you are not just going and buying something brand new and then it may be doing only a very small portion of it, because by nature supply chain is very cross-functional and very holistic, and that's why it's important to be very careful about what technologies you deploy and why.
Right. Should you always be looking for success stories in other customers that sort of case studies that where you can actually see concrete results that you might have yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you need to be careful about the population of the area that it actually affected, because sometimes what I've seen is that some system may say we do this, but then when you actually realize they do great job of that process for 50% of your application applicable scenarios, but not the remaining 50%. So you
Hmm.
just keep talking about the shiny thing of that 50% it helped to address, but not the remaining 50%. But the remaining 50% also makes sure that your performance is one way or other way. So understanding where it applies and how it applies is very important.
Great. Thank you. Bhavesh, we're running out the clock, but we have time for one more question, one final question. If you were to distill some key takeaways for our manufacturing industry or supply chain practitioners and leaders from other industries, what would you suggest?
Yeah, so I think so. Digital transformation, and we talked about technologies and everything else. So IDC says that the world spends about 1.8 trillion on digital transformation every year. And that's a lot of money.
It's a lot
uh,
of money.
and and it says about 30% of it is on people process side. It says about 30% is on the technology side and things like that. Essentially, they are all trying to go to some agile and better decision making and then actioning. And what I would say is that because you are talking about people, process, and these technologies and decisions, wrapping it together with intelligent automation is actually the right answer, is the first answer that you should actually look at, because that will help you to get your predictive insights, that will help you to, your worker shortage scenarios, challenges, that will help you with your risk and compliance, like we talked about, and improve your overall supply chain performance as well as your sustainability performance, and make it be connected and integrated essentially.
Fantastic. Bhavesh, thank you so much. I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thank you to Bhavesh, and then a special thanks to you, the audience, for participating. I think we've learned a lot today about using AI and intelligent automation to improve manufacturing and supply chain operations. We had a lot of questions today, and we'll be answering the ones we didn't get to with you offline. Please see on your screen right now links which will lead you to a white paper that explores how leaders from global organizations use automation to reach business goals, reduce disruption, and deliver value. And there's a lot of real life use cases in there. So I really recommend that you read it. There's a lot of meat in there. And you'll also see a link to Bhavesh's blog on the Blue Prism website. Additionally, those of you who registered are also going to get an email later with these links. And you'll also get a link to view the webinar on demand, which you can share with anyone. There will also, of course, be contact information for SS&C Blue Prism and WonderBotz. Thank you so much for your participation. Stay safe, stay happy, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.